This is the Tan Talk Radio Network.
Welcome to Moments of Clarity with Tiffany Werner, licensed mental health counselor in the state of Florida. Moments of Clarity's mission is to educate and end the stigma on mental health through the inspirational stories of our exceptional guests. You can join in the show by calling Tiffany toll-free at 866-826-1340 or on Facebook and Twitter at MOC with Tiffany. Now, here's Tiffany Werner.
Hi, thanks for listening. This is Moments of Clarity. I'm Tiffany Werner. I'm a licensed mental health counselor, and I'm your host. And today we're going to talk about the importance of exposing children to cultural differences early in life. And a lot of times that requires traveling and money and education and someone to take them on these things. But not only that, it takes someone passionate about it to actually think to want to go with a group of kids, especially middle school, high school age, and make it their passion. And with me today in studio is a middle school teacher, and he has made it one of his paying it forward after growing up in a life that wasn't so accessible to those kind of things. He made it his passion to show kids the world, and he swears to me that they come back more aware and different and magically, I think, more humble. And I want to welcome to Moments of Clarity, Mr. Timothy Wert.
Hello, thank you for having me here.
Yeah, welcome. He's actually only able to come today because it's a holiday weekend, so happy Easter, everybody. And I know that there's tornado watches locally in the area, so if you're driving around, be careful. Gusty winds in the area, and I hope and wish everybody a very happy holiday weekend. So teachers have off today, I guess, just because some perks come with teaching a bunch of adolescents and other people's kids. It's not just ours. So, how did this all start for you, Mr. Wert? And we'll just go from there.
Well, last year I had made a comment to my boss about taking kids on trips. We were organizing a field trip, and I said, well, can I take kids to Europe? And I thought she would say no right away, but I was surprised. She said, yeah, why don't you do it? And at first I was kind of shocked. I didn't know what to say. And I started doing the research, and I started looking into it. And the more I've got involved in looking at what's included in the trips and what the students will learn and all the things that they'll experience, it started to change the way I thought about just taking kids on trips. Like, what was the importance of field trips? Why is it essential for them to not sit in the classroom all day and not learn from the teacher in front of the classroom all day?
Right. And so what are some trips that you've done before, and what do you plan?
Well, I just got back from Spain. I was in Spain for a global education training where I became certified in global education, and it was my first time in Spain. I didn't know what to expect because, you don't really know. I personally don't know much about Spain. It's not one of those countries where you hear a lot about, but it really changed my perspective on what it means to travel. It was an amazing, beautiful place that was full of life and full of adventure, and the people were amazing. Madrid was the city that I expect a city to be. When you walk down the streets, there were people out having fun and dancing and eating in the street and having a good time. That I don't think I've seen maybe 4 or 5 cars in the street the entire time in the center city.
Wow.
And then I ended up going to this huge cathedral in Toledo, Spain, and it was absolutely gorgeous. It was the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. And to think about the students being able to experience those kind of things, and looking at it in a textbook and reading about it and hearing it from your teacher is one thing, but being able to experience it.
Who listens to their teachers in middle school anyway?
Yeah, right. And I think my students do. I think my students enjoy my lessons, especially my history lessons.
Let's make sure that teachers keep believing that. So, okay, but you had told me that there's a little bit of history from what you've gone through as a child that led you into wanting to do this. It's not just about seeing the world for other kids, but you've gone through something where it wasn't quite possible for you to go unless someone helped you out, and then you realized the power of travel.
Yeah,
as a young kid.
Yeah, when I was in high school, I was part of an organization called Health Occupation Students of America, and I was given the opportunity to travel to their national convention in California, and I lived in Pennsylvania at the time, and the trip was, I believe it was just under $3,000 to go on the trip, and
which for most of us is a lot of money.
Yeah.
But the reward, I mean, just was good with it. That's
right.
Just under $3,000, $3K.
My parents had
$299.99.
Yeah, I think they put it right under that, so you feel better about it. But my parents had told me straight out I couldn't go. It wasn't about whether they would let me go, but it was all came down to money. And I think that's what it is for a lot of people. It's not whether they want to go or not want to go. It's whether they can afford to go.
Right. And unfortunately, very unfortunately, life has a lot of responsibilities, and travel to a lot of us, at least in America, I would say mostly, is a luxury or something we don't put as a priority, or taking vacation or all of that. Because, in my opinion, I think Americans are overworked, and everyone, think about the maternity leave that we get versus over in Europe, or
right.
I mean, it's just ridiculous. I think definitely our culture, whatever that is here in America, we don't appreciate time and vacation and family time the way that others do.
Right.
And in my opinion, the way that we should.
Right.
Because knowing about other cultures expands empathy, compassion, and awareness of how others live, or why there's differences, or appreciating them for that as well. And sometimes visiting and helping after disaster relief, not sometimes, it's eye-opening of how lucky we are.
Oh, yeah. When I worked, I had a job before where I was on the disaster relief team, and I went to New Orleans after Katrina, and experiencing that was incredible, what the devastation and what the people needed, and just being able to reach out and help. It was also changing. It's amazing. And for students to be able to experience things like that it's super important, because...
Is it, do you think that also, I mean, just back on that point, to rewind, I want to let callers call in. It's 866-826-1340. 866-826-1340. Call in, ask questions, give feedback, and and offer support with the understanding different cultures right there. As a licensed mental health counselor, I think across the board that is 100% necessary for people to not become judgmental, less ignorant, things of that nature, especially starting at a young age. And then appreciating people for their differences and understanding them, and that we're all unique, rather than different or intimidating or whatever. Understanding, ends ignorance, and it builds compassion. And so, I mean, that's healthy just right there. But also to have our kids help in disaster areas shows humility, gratitude, and compassion on a whole different level. Wow, how tragic, and being able to understand that it's not just on the news.
Right.
Things to be able to see it up in front. But when you were younger, you said that someone had helped you able to travel when your family wasn't able to afford it.
Yeah, my parents had told me straight out, we can't afford this. You can't go on this trip, and it was important to me. I wanted to go. I wanted to experience it, and I had got it in my head that I was not going to be able to go. It wasn't going to happen. And then I got to school the next day, and my teacher told me that she found someone that would be willing to pay the entire cost of the trip for me to go.
Yeah, see, you got, and so. The whole point of this is that Mr. Wert, Timothy Wert here, middle school teacher, and actually likes his job. A lot of teachers really don't, and I have a lot of them on my caseload. I gotta tell you, it's not an easy job to like. But he put this program to raise money so that families can't afford to help them travel and see these places of natural wonder or of cultural diversity, or that they can afford to go. And so it's part of the whole show. But not only that, what do you guys think about kids traveling early and exposing cultural diversity at a young age? Because I'm totally for it. And we have caller. Call, we have caller Joe on the line. Hi, Joe. Welcome to Moments of Clarity.
Hey, Tiffany, how are you?
Good. Hi. Nice to hear your voice.
Hi. Yeah. I just caught what your guest was talking about. Just want to share something we did
Sure.
at church.
Thank you.
We support a missionary, husband and wife team. They were in Pakistan, but they relocated to Chicago, and they ministered to the people from Southeast Asia, Pakistan, Nepal, India,
Wow.
Bangladesh, all these different cultures. They've all come to Chicago to live. So they have a book center where they teach English. They help people with everyday things, making copies of documents, etc.
Mm-hmm.
And this was a couple of years ago, but we wanted to go on a mission trip. We didn't have the resources to go out of the country, so we did the next best thing. We went to Chicago in the summer. Every summer, this team in Chicago has a block party. And you have people, and most of them wear their traditional garb, their clothing from Pakistan or whatever.
Uh-huh.
And our kids from the church went, and they were exposed to people of different cultures, different languages, and I feel it was really good for them because where we live, it's not that diversified. There's not that many people from different countries in this area, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And
even at younger ages, now I'm just feeding in here, but you hear kids going, "Man, that guy's weird," or "That lady's weird," and it's not weird; it's different. They don't understand. But go on, sorry.
And I really appreciate it because the different countries, different cultures. Because when I was in the Navy, I had the opportunity to go to places like Pakistan, Sri Lanka, Africa, Spain, France, the Philippines. And I so value that experience to this day, many years later. And it enriched me in such a way. I can't really describe it any other way than to say that it was a wonderful experience. And I encourage people to do that, you know, take their families or take their students and give it an opportunity to do such a thing. And it will change them for the rest of their life.
Right. That's okay. That's what this teacher here, Mr. Wert, is saying. And that's what he's trying.
It definitely
he's doing.
does. Yeah,
Any comments back for Joe?
Yeah, and, you know, it's important for them to see countries not just like regular, like people would think that this is a vacation.
It's not Australia or Hawaii or whatever.
Right. We're not looking at taking students and exposing them to cultural places that are like very common. I'm taking a trip with students to Egypt. It's important for them to see the cultural diversity in Egypt and what it's like, other than what they're just hearing from either adults, history class, or
one of
from
the natural
news,
wonders,
right?
except for all the locals call it a bunch of rocks.
I think it's a lot more than that.
Right. Well, of course.
Right. And, you know, when we went to this mission trip, that's what we called it, it wasn't all fun and games. They all worked. They helped with the block party, you know. So they learned a lot of lessons. And
it teaches them value and of hard work and a lot of gratitude because, I don't know, I can say this because I'm a mom, but the kids, and we might be hearing from one of them today, one of mine, but they're kind of getting spoiled these days. There's too much electronics, indoor stuff, not getting out and actually experiencing stuff. And especially in Florida with the summer heat, unless there's a pool or a beach, and they don't even want to be outside. Or you have to get them involved with a sport. It's just finding the right thing. But who doesn't want to learn and travel and witness something? And that can be a memory that they take with them to the, you know, I don't even want to say that. They're gonna. My kids are going to live forever. So,
yeah.
Just say it.
If I can just mention one more thing. In all my travels, too, I learned a valuable lesson. These kids, these people that I encountered, that I interacted with, they didn't know they were poorer than dirt. The fact that they had no running water, the convenience, the creature comforts that we have, these kids were so happy playing with sticks and, you know, milk jugs as a baseball glove. And it taught me something, and I try to convey that to my own kids. Be content with what you have. Don't always want more and more.